common knowledge and no longer news that a reasonable number of married couples suffer abuse in one form or the other. Now, abuse is not gender specific. Some men are also abused. But today's video is specifically about women who have decided to remain in an abusive marriage just because of their children. Before we continue with this video, I would like us to have a working definition. Any marriage that alters your personality, any marriage where the acts or the actions of your spouse interferes or alters the real you and reduces you from being the best you to becoming something other than you. Now, let me explain what that means within this context. I'm sure sometimes you've met somebody whose wedding you attended and the person was looking all beautiful, bold enough to speak in certain places. And then you see the person some years into the person's marriage, and then you're wondering, why are you like this? Why are you a shadow of yourself? And maybe a discussion comes up, then the person is with her spouse, and you realize that the person is not talking because of the abuse that the person is going through. That's what I'm talking about. Anything, any action from a spouse that alters the real person and reduces the personality to less than what the person originally should be. I'm a very strong believer in relationships, and I believe that every relationship ought to make you to be better. Have your strengths, I have my strengths, we pull them together. So in the areas where I'm weak, you could be strong. And that's the thing. And you're who you are today because you met some very wonderful people. Here are some of the ways that people are brought to be lower than who they are. People are made not to make impact in life. One of them is the physical abuse, which is the very common one that people know about. This involves physical harm or the threat of physical harm. Using objects to cause harm. It can cause or lead to physical injuries ranging from bruises to more severe harm. You see women wearing dark shades and you ask them, they say, oh, I just have an injury in my face. Or they could say things like, I just fell and all that. They cover up for the physical abuses. There's also the emotional or verbal abuse. Emotional or verbal abuse includes behaviors that are aimed to control or degrade or manipulate a partner emotionally. Things like constant criticism, insult, name calling, humiliation, and yelling. There are some people that just cannot talk in the presence of other people anymore. There's also the psychological abuse. Psychological abuse involves tactics that undermine a person's self esteem, sense of worth, mental well being, and more. It includes gaslighting, oh my God, manipulating someone into doubting their own reality, mind games and threats. Sometimes, people are in a place and then they no longer know who they are because their identity seems to be altered. There is also the financial abuse. This type of abuse occurs when a spouse controls the finances to limit the other person's financial independence and freedom. It may involve withholding money, prohibiting financial decision making, sabotaging the person's career or financial stability. A lot of women have been told you just stay in the house and take care of the children. Sometimes, when it is done with the idea or with the intention of actually giving attention to children, then it's good. But when it's done to limit the other person because you want the person to be under you financially perpetually, then something is wrong somewhere. Sexual abuse is the next one. That includes any non-consensual sexual activity within a marriage. It can include forced sex, coercion, sexual degradation, or even withholding sex as a form of control, where it's all about you, it's what you want, it's when you want it, it's how you want it. That is a form of abuse. Some women actually get violated in their homes because their partner does not even know when they are ready or not. As far as the man is concerned, it's my thing, I do my thing, and I go away. There is also what is called isolation, where a spouse is isolated from friends and family just because the man wants to be in control. There's some people that have been isolated from their friends. Immediately after marriage, they no longer are in touch with their friends. This can involve limiting, disconnecting somebody from friends and families and more. It's a form of abuse. There is also the reproductive abuse, a situation where you're turned into a reproductive machine where you're being pressured to have children, where you're being forced to either abort a child because your partner does not want you to have a child, where the number of children you're going to have is being determined by your spouse, so that whether you are prepared emotionally, physically, or psychologically is irrelevant, because all your partner wants to do is, I want to have 7 children, and so you're going to go 7 times into the delivery room. I don't care how you're going to do it. Or maybe you want to have four, and then your spouse just tells you, no, I just want to have one. And no matter what you do, you said it, and that's all. There is also the digital and online abuse, where people make derogatory comments about their spouses in their timeline, maybe in Facebook or Instagram or all that. And this may include monitoring a partner's online activities or using social media to humiliate or harass their partners. People get to know through statements or comments on their timelines reveal a lot about the things that are happening in their marriages. And the spouse could know that, okay, what this person is writing is about me. There is also the religious or spiritual abuse. It involve manipulating religious doctrines to justify abuse, or using religious practices to control a partner. For instance, as a Christian, you hear again and again, the Bible says you should be submissive. The Bible says I'm the head of the home. The Bible says, and then the woman would just be like, okay, the Bible says I should submit. The Bible says is a head. There is also the stalking within a marriage, which is also a form of abuse, where somebody sent an unwanted attention or surveillance, both online and offline. It can cause real emotional distress and fear, where your partner trails you, you go this way, and the person wants to know if you're online. What are you doing online by 11 o'clock? And I saw your status and all that. That is a form of abuse, where you would want to know where the person is at all the time. We're meant to be free beings. So anything that makes you not to be free, you become jittery, you're always afraid, is a form of abuse. And then there is also neglect. Neglect can be a partner consistently fails to provide care and support the other party. This kind of neglect could come emotionally, where sometimes, like I said, in sexual abuse, where somebody could decide not to be there for you sexually, where somebody could decide not to be there for you emotionally, where somebody will not show affection, somebody does not even have time, you are just there as maybe a piece of furniture, like some people say, you're being refused assistance with even childcare. Somebody opening up and saying even when she's pregnant, she still has to carry food upstairs because her husband would not want to eat downstairs. And that one of those days she was coming and he fell with the food. And then he came, and rather than maybe being sorry, trying to show some affection, it was like, are you the first to be pregnant? Why couldn't you be more careful? So in some cases, abuse may target a person's cultural background, race, ethnicity, or identity. This could lead to the other party, because this case we're talking about women, this could lead to where a man makes derogatory statements or comments that lead to, making the wife feel very bad, discrimination, or attempts to force assimilation, making the person feel like my culture is more superior than yours, where I'm from is better than yours. And so these are some of the things that you could term to be abuse. There are quite a lot, but I would like to stop with this because we can't exhaust this issue of abuse. And if you're here for the first time, please don't forget to hit the subscription button and then the bell icon. So let's continue with what I was talking about. Anything that alters your real personality or your real self could be termed an abuse because you're created with a lot to be the best you. One of the things that can alter one's real self and make one to live a life that is less than who the person truly is the act of staying in an abusive marriage. What if you lose your life in the process of being physically abused? What if you lose your mind in the process of being emotionally abused? What if you have a physical disability in the process of being physically abused? All of these are possibilities. And then the last question that is, what happens when the children eventually leave the house? Because they will leave the house and start living on their own. What would you do? Are you going to go with them? Or are you going to still stay in the marriage? If it's about the children and it's because of the children that you're in the marriage, what really happens when they leave the marriage? That is, if you survive. Let me know your thoughts on this. You think it's proper? I would really want to get feedback. Do not forget to be you. Do not forget to be real. And do not forget that you're here to make an impact and leave footprints on the sands of time.